Thank you. All right, so I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, December 7, 2021 meeting of the Evanston Preservation Commission. I'll declare we do have a quorum of 6 and possibly 7 members. As the first matter, we have to vote to suspend the rules to allow remote participation. And for every matter, we have to do a roll call vote. So we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner, I'm sorry, so the motion is to hold the meeting virtually. Commissioner Reinhold?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan?
Aye.
Commissioner Driller?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. I'm assuming Stuart still can't hear us. All right, so we only have 2 matters of new business tonight. For each matter, I know, I think the architects for both the applicants will appear before us before. But at any rate, if any speaker could, first of all, could everybody who isn't speaking mute their computers? Thank you.
Mark, just a quick question before we go any further. If I go offline for a second and try and help Stuart out via the phone, do we still have a quorum?
We do. I mean, you want to just take a second and try to do it? I don't know what to say.
It sounds like he may be on with somebody else though. So look, it looks like he's getting help elsewhere. Let's move forward.
Okay, I did send a text to. All right, so we'll ask each person speaking to start by introducing themselves. Even if your name appears, we need your name stated for the record and for the video. So the first matter of new business is 2514 Harrison Street, which is a landmark home, not in the Sort District. And I believe I saw, is Mr. Kang, the architect, going to speak?
Yes. My name is Sam Kang. I'm the architect for this project, representing the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Chang.
If you'd like to present your application, and you're welcome to ask Kate to move through the slides as you'd like.
Okay, so the proposed project is mostly interior, but there's some exterior reworking of windows on the south side and on the east side. The south side is an existing porch that they want to, if you just go down to the exterior elevation, there's no work on that side. That's the east side. And then if you go down to the south elevation, you see the existing on the left and proposed on the right. They wanted to redesign the entrance into the porch area to create a better pathway into their house, which aligns with their hallway down further, and also make it more symmetrical with the rear of the house. Right, currently it's offset, the entrance, and the windows are offset to the right. It's out of balance, and there's different materials below the windows that makes it look like an addition. So we want to relocate the staircase and entryway and make it more symmetrical in the rear of the house, and replace the paneling on below the windows with the same narrow shiplap siding, so that it matches the existing house, the main part of the existing house better. And then on the east elevation, also on that south elevation, there's a couple windows we want to replace. They're not in good condition, and one of the window on the right side, the reason that's shorter is because they're redoing the rooms upstairs. You'll see the floor, you can look at the floor plan. They want to add a bathroom for a master suite on that right side, and that's over a toilet location, that window, so that needed to be shorter to clear the toilet tank. On the east elevation, there's a couple window changes. One is at the kitchen on the left, first floor left side. There's an existing double window we want to replace based on the new configuration, the kitchen layout. And then there's a window on the second floor on the right side. They're switching the master bedroom from the front of the house to the rear of the house, adjacent to the new bathroom in the rear. So the front room is more of a guest room, which requires another closet. So if you look at the floor plan later, you see the closet requirement requires that window to move over to the right. But because of the egress requirement for the bedroom, we had to make it a little wider to meet the egress. The current window does not meet egress in the bedrooms, or in this bedroom at least. And so we would prefer, the homeowner would prefer to have a similar original size window there, but because of egress, we had to make it wider unless this recommending body can recommend to the city, building department that can go with a narrower version. That's what they prefer, but the only reason it's wider is because of the egress requirement. On the porch on the left side, it's similar to what's existing there with the transom and the casement windows. So, but we are changing the siding similar to the rear south side with the shiplap siding, taking the paneling off so that it blends in with the existing house better. So it doesn't look like an addition. So that's proposed on the changes on the west and east side of the porch would be similar to that. The east side, the west side doesn't have windows like this, but we want to replace with similar siding. There's it's just a solid wall. So we want to replace the siding to match existing with new siding. So I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm not sure if you want to look at the floor plans, but that's the scope of the work, is really to make that more attractive in the rear with the balanced symmetrical entranceway, centered window arrangement. And it really helps with the traffic flow in the house as well.
What were the additional photos that are slides that were just distributed? I know I couldn't load them. They were very large.
Would you like me to pull them up, Mark? They're just quite
Sure.
a few photos. Here, let me.
Yeah, I don't know if other people had the.
Let's see.
That's the bedroom window that's going to be shifted to the right and a lot wider to meet egress. That's a close-up view. There's the view looking up. That's the kitchen window. That's the windows above the porch. And there's the porch. That's the dimensions of the windows for that egress window.
think that's the last one.
What questions do we have from commissioners?
I have a question. Was there any type of comparison to the profiles of the new replacement windows and the original wood windows?
Yes, we submitted that. It's a weather shield window. It's a similar profile, wood windows.
Was there any like sections taken to show like the measurements and the dimensions of those profiles at all?
We do have a detailed drawing that was sent later. I don't know if you have that, Kate.
I don't know if I ever received that.
Okay, let me see.
Did you send it the same time as the photos?
No. Check here.
No.
I'm checking my file here. I'm sorry, that was a detailed existing window, the dimensions, and we sent a separate drawing of that with pictures. But it's similar to what you've been shown on the pictures. I don't have that information handy, but from what I know, the sashes, I could get that information. It's very similar in size. It's a weather shield signature series, and we could get that information for you, the sash sizes, but I know it's very similar. I just don't have that dimensions for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, the kitchen, new casement window. What, did you pick casement just for ease of opening that and when you have to lean over the sink to get to it?
Correct. Yeah, that's the main reason. Ease of operation.
And is that a pair of
Correct.
casements? Okay.
Yes.
And had you looked at making that one large casement with a faux meeting rail to kind of simulate the double hungs?
Yeah, that's an option we could look into. Sure, if that's what the board recommends here, that's we could make it a simulated double hung look.
Stuart's nodding his approval.
All right, well, while we're waiting, come back to commissioners, just to make sure, is there any member of the public who wish to speak to this matter? No, okay. All right, discussion by commissioners?
I would recommend, since it is a landmark home, Cade, can you clarify how visible are the east windows? I mean, the south is obviously from the alley, but how visible is the east?
The second floor window in the bedroom is really pretty visible from the sidewalk and from the street. I would say that the kitchen window it's also highly visible, but you wouldn't notice, for example, like the simulated, if that's what you went with, the look of a double hung. I don't think you'd be able to readily tell the difference.
I actually was just saying, since it is a landmark home, I would recommend, and however the commission would like to go, I'd at least recommend that there's an administrative review of the profiles of the weather shield windows. And it sounds like the applicant can get that fairly readily of a comparison between the original windows and the replacement windows, just to make sure that the sections are close. I think that's a pretty standard item for when we review landmark windows. So I think that could be done administratively, but that would be one of my recommendations.
And one of my items just for consideration might be that window, the bathroom window on the south elevation that's going to be smaller than what's existing. Was there any thought of replacing it with the same size, but then using a piece of opaque glass in the lower sash to provide that privacy? Making that one smaller just kind of throws off the balance there on the south elevation.
This is Sarah Chang. Can I speak to it? I actually think that was an error.
It's a prior version.
It was a different version. We've wanted the windows to be the same size. There's an issue with the toilet, so we're working it out, but we'd like to keep the symmetry if possible. So,
Wonderful.
So, yeah, we could change that to the same size then. Then it'll be all balanced. We'll
I think
change
we are
that.
trying to do something like you've said with the issue with the toilet to like show inside to kind of cover that, but we're working through that. That's the
Love it.
goal.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be a great change, Mrs. Chang.
I am muted myself. Can people hear me?
You can talk on your phone. Can you talk on your phone? No, sorry. Yeah, all right, we better move on. All right, so it sounds like we have, I think, 3 different pieces to, I mean, to incorporate in the motion for administrative approval. So I don't know if anyone wants to try to put it together in a motion.
Well, before we do that, is everybody comfortable with administrative review of the kitchen window change to a single casement with a meeting rail? Okay.
John, do you want to try to put together a motion that would incorporate?
Sure, and in that motion, will I clarify those points of administrative review?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion regarding 2514 Harrison Street, 21 Pres 0169, a landmark, to issue a certificate of appropriateness to alter existing structures fenestration on the east and south elevations and replace existing wood panel siding on the rear volume single-story addition with cedar clapboard siding to match the existing siding's exposure, applicable standards, alteration 1 through 10, all above said, subject to administrative review on number 1, the kitchen window being changed to a single casement with a simulated meeting rail to look like a double hung. Number 2, to review the construction and profiles of the existing wood windows to remain and their compatibility with the new proposed weather shield windows. And number 3, to review the bathroom second floor window becoming the same size as the adjacent one to the existing size that it is now.
Okay. A second?
Second,
Second, Susie. All right. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Reinhold,
aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bowden.
Hi,
Stuart, you can point up if you can hear us and want to approve. Stuart's an aye. Commissioner Dreller,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So thank you very much. So
Thank you.
you'll submit revisions back to Cade, and
Yes.
then he'll consult with Commissioner to the extent he feels he needs to and get back to you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Our other matter of new business is 1115 Hinman Avenue in the Lakeshore Historic District. Mr. Aylman, were you going to speak to this? You're muted.
Wow, 2021, and I'm still doing that right. Sorry about that. Thank you for the introduction. And the owners are also on the call, as well as someone from my office. So in a worst case scenario where Zoom goes away, we have folks to carry on. So the project is an addition, interior and exterior renovation. There's a small, mostly opaque addition and deck at the back that will be removed and replaced with a new addition to allow the expansion of the kitchen and a living space and a rear entry, as well as an uncovered deck and a screened porch. As we described in the application, the project requires a minor zoning variation, and that's been submitted. The maximum building coverage is 30%, and with the screened porch, we are at 33.1%. I can speak to that more if it's of interest to the commission. In terms of the interior, it's a fairly significant interior renovation, kitchen, bathrooms, and on the exterior, we're proposing to replace the existing aluminum siding with James Hardie fiber cement siding. Just as a note, the current owners purchased the home from the previous owner who had applied for and received approval to change to Hardie siding. We are also making other changes, including exposing, as long as the brick's in decent shape, exposing the brick fireplace, to the chimney on the south and tuck pointing that. A number of the windows are in very bad condition, and after a lot of conversation with the owners, we're proposing to replace most of the windows, not all of the windows, but most of the windows with Marvin aluminum clad wood windows. There are a number of, there are art glass windows on the front, on the west, and also on the north. The ones on the north are in good shape and are being retained. On the north, they are in very bad condition, and we're proposing to replace them with windows, with the Marvin windows that would receive a Decra-lead treatment to replicate the existing leaded windows. There's an interesting feature on the west that whoever put up the aluminum siding covered up, which is an arch top window, which you might not have noticed on the existing. It's dashed in, but it's been sided over. The bedroom on the third floor is the bedroom for the girl, for the owner's kids, to the kids. It currently doesn't meet the building code in terms of egress, and those windows are in particularly bad shape. So our approach here was to have casement windows, one of which would be large enough to meet the egress requirement, and all three of which would provide the required vent. And those would have the simulated check rail to approximate the cottage style windows that were there before, but return to the facade the archtop that's currently concealed. The front door remains, and there are no other changes to the front of the porch. There's one window that's worth looking at there on drawing 6.1. The stair, we're reusing the space of, there are two stairs that go upstairs. So there's one stair from the second floor up there are two stairs in parallel that go from the first floor to the landing. We're using the space of one of those stairs for another use as part of the kitchen. And so there's a window, if you compare the existing to the proposed, or you can just stay here on 6.1, there's a window that is directly adjacent to the bay of the stair, which you see there with the gable. And because we're filling in the floor there to create space, we're proposing a new window further up at the third floor. So I don't know if it's useful, Kate, to kind of go back and forth between existing and proposed there. So you can see the window A just to the left of the bay. That's there because it's at the landing, and the landing is going away. Hopefully that's clear. So those art glass windows at the stair are all in good condition. They don't need to operate because they're not light vent considerations. So those are all staying, and the art glass, the clear story art glass at the entry is staying with no change as well. So another change in terms of the change to existing window locations. This is the existing on the south, or I'm sorry, on the east. You can see the small addition that's going to go away with the roof line of the proposed first floor addition to replace it. Those windows are being filled in to make way for the addition, as you can see, and additional windows are being added on the north and south. So the brick, the home has a brick foundation. So for the planter and the from the foundation up to the siding, we're also continuing the brick that would be painted to match the existing. And these are the painstakingly documented existing windows and the proposed Marvin Windows. So that's the existing cottage window at the third floor. So those are the windows at the second floor that are in the bathroom that currently don't operate. And these would be new windows that would be operable. There's a mix for at the basement of the existing house. There are some vinyl sliding windows, and there are also some wood. I think some are fixed, and Christy in my office documented these. I think some are awning, but I think a couple are fixed, but they're wood. And so we're unifying all of the basement windows with the aluminum clad wood iron windows. And then for the ones, the wood windows that have these divided lights, we're using the simulated divided light. I think that's our presentation.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
Thomas, the existing windows, the double hungs have lugs on the exterior, and that's going to be reproduced in the Marvin clad product.
That's right, and I think that should have been described in the application, but yeah, the Marvin lugs are, it's the double hungs with the lugs, yes.
And how is the leaded treatment achieved in the new Marvin windows?
So this is something that I learned a lot on this project so far already, but it's a product that is available through, at least when the windows are purchased through Ashland Millwork, that it's actually a lead. It's simply just attached to the exterior. They're basically leaded windows, but instead of individual lights, it's a pattern that's attached to the front. And the owners get credit for searching that out and finding the person at Ashland that had provided those for other windows that have been approved by this commission.
Do I notice that the leaded pattern for the replacement window does not quite match the original pattern? The dimensions are a little off. The leading is, there's more leading on the replacement ones than there was on the existing. I'm just looking at slides 13 and 13.1.
Cade, would it be possible to?
Yeah, there you go. And then 13.1 as a tighter pattern.
I will, Christy did an amazing job putting this together, but I think that might just be a drafting thing. I don't know of any reason. It's custom made. It's not like this is something that we buy and snap on. So it should be able to match exactly. The only place where it might be slightly different is, I think, and Christy, correct me if I'm wrong, in the third floor where we're taking the arched cottage window and making that a casement that's operable. I think that's like 1 or 2 inches wider, completely unnoticeable, but meets code. So I think the pattern might be just slightly different, but otherwise they should all match.
Can match. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
Just to make sure, does any member of the public wish to speak to this matter? Okay, we'll return to, is there any discussion by the commission as to the merits of the proposal?
Just one more question about the applied leading.
Yeah.
What's the color and the sheen for?
Yeah, there's, I have not seen this in person, but I know in the literature, there's actually a range of slightly different coloration. So we would sit down with the palette like you would with the grout kit, essentially. I think there's at least a handful so that we could get as close as possible to what's there now.
All right, last call for commissioners to discuss this. Now, would anyone like to make a motion to approve? Somebody, please.
I'm guessing I don't get to do that.
Hopefully somebody will. I can't.
I have some issues with the volume and the amount of glazing and the large curve in the addition that doesn't seem to relate back to the parent structure. I don't know if anybody else is concerned about that as well.
I have some concerns about it as well. Thomas, could you speak to the origin of that arch and and for me particularly the panel and batten strip motif above the arch, and how you feel that relates or starts to do its own thing versus the existing home?
Sure. I think just to kind of walk you through the process. So we looked at a number of different roof forms and felt that the gable reflected the house fairly well. And the next priority was to bring as much light as possible into the space and to be able to enjoy the backyard. So in terms of the glazing, that's the sizes of the openings and with the simulated divided lights. While there is quite a bit of glass, it's a really nice backyard, so they're hoping to be able to enjoy it. And it's a vaulted ceiling. So we were able to bring some light in, and we did look at windows that would create a triangular form, as there are triangular windows on the bay that are different from the others. It didn't feel right, I don't think, for us. And Ben and Royce, the owners, are here on the call, and they can speak to that as well. As far as the material, we did look at it with the siding continuing up, and it seemed to be enough of a distinctive design element that treating the material around it actually ended up looking better than it did with the lap siding, which we also looked at. So that's kind of how we got to where we are.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's, what the ordinance refers to as an innovative design that is, a real contrast to the rest of the home in a lot of ways. I mean, it does seem like the key things in the code for alterations are, number one, that innovative design, is not discouraged, albeit compatible with the existing features of the house. And then also the next criteria is, it really focuses on whether alterations could be removed or whether they're really destroying the integrity of the original structure. And the fact that it is really, kind of a separate and detachable alteration, I think did sway me that it would be okay. It's not like it's really altering the existing historic home, but it's clearly an issue. I mean, it's hard to get around the fact that it's an issue.
I think for me, the house is eclectic enough and not of a super strong flavor stylistically that to break from that some of the rules of the existing home on a rear addition feels okay. The arch is such a strong element that I'm not sure there was a better way to go about it. I don't think that the triangular window would have been successful, as you said.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
No, I would just say, along those lines, Commissioner Jacobs, we did look at removing the arched window, or we looked at having it without the arched window and trying to achieve the light from above and the cathedral ceilings with skylights. But it just felt like kind of a heavy forehead without any kind of fenestration there.
Stuart, could you hold up that sketch again?
What does it say?
House says 2. The gable and
Hold it up a little higher, Stuart.
treatments arch.
Kate, is it possible to make Stuart's video larger on the screen?
Or could he possibly use the chat?
Let me look.
Is there any way you could investigate maybe squaring it off and doing another layer of transom above or something that kind of gets up into the gable a little bit, but doesn't introduce a brand new form?
We did look at, and I'm not sure, Ben and Royce, if it made it, if it ended up on the cutting room floor, but I know when we were looking at this in the office, we did look at rectangular clear story windows that were just sort of stacked on top of each other. And that stepping feature of having rectangular windows seemed even more foreign than the arch to us anyways. So it seems like, if you're going to have window there, it's rectangular, it's arched, or it's triangular echoing the line of the gable. And the rectangular windows that were approximating the amount of glass seemed a little bit awkward with the stepping, a little bit wedding cakey in terms of the appearance of the windows. And I think what I was seeing in Stuart's sketch was sort of replicating having the look of two double hung windows in the place. And it doesn't look bad from the outside. When we looked at it in the model, in a perspective view from the inside, to have that much wall with glass below and then two sort of punched windows, it seemed like somebody had taken out the floor and exposed attic windows. They didn't quite fit, we thought.
And are you showing the new chimney at the height that it will be? It doesn't have to be higher? Is it far enough from the house, the main house?
Yeah, we did look at that. Yep.
Okay, so, okay.
I'm
You're
very
okay with
curious
it being
about
lower?
sorry, go ahead.
You're okay with it being at the same height as the windows on the main part of the house?
We've looked at it with the owners and they seem to be fine with it. So I think we are, yeah.
And the two-sided fireplace that I assume has glass doors on each side?
Was it two-sided?
That does have glass on both sides. One of the things that we've looked at would be making it, and Ben, you can jump in here, if it were two separate fireplaces so that it could be, with an insulated wall between so that they could be wood burning.
Okay, it's out of our purview, but I was just curious.
Yeah, no, that is something that has come up, and I haven't done the homework on and I bet Ben has, on the depth of the fireplaces that are available. We're trying not to extend into the living room or into the screen porch too much. And Carlos has a question. So Carlos,
divider lights, so that would be more in the same scale as the windows that are the double hungs. It seems to me that the purview of the commission is from the outside, and you were talking about the impression you get from the inside. Unfortunately, that's sort of a situation sometimes that is difficult to resolve, that will satisfy the exterior and interior appearance. But in my opinion, the arch is a little bit too busy for what is there for the rest of the house in terms of the number of lights that you're looking at.
So
and
when
also
you say
the panels above it, I don't know what color that will be, but it seems to me that's introducing a different element, and I don't know necessarily that's innovative. Overall, the roof form and the volume, the scales seem to be okay, and it could be removed. And I think by itself it's a nice design, but I don't know if it's compatible with the house itself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carlos. And I think that the siding on the main house is very traditional and has a very strong horizontal design. And it would be nice to, then you've got this very vertical look of the paneling and the gable end here. Maybe something like, you know, a shingle or something that's a little bit more traditional and at least blends with the time period of the house a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we could, so replacing the panel with a shingle, or not a shingle, yeah, shingle material.
Cade, could you talk to the staff report that indicates the style is colonial revival? Because I don't know that I'm feeling a strong.
It just comes from the survey sheet. I agree that it doesn't have a strong colonial revival feel to me, other than perhaps the treatment on the front porch.
Maybe the Palladian window.
Yeah, I think it's the Palladian window.
The Palladian window,
Mostly.
yeah,
Mhm.
Venetian window, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And there's some symmetry. A little bit of some symmetry going on there.
Mhm.
So I was on the fence about the just getting back to the arch in the back. First of all, I want to just note that in my time being on the commission, this was the best letter from an architect that I have read so far.
Mhm.
So very well done. Thank you for, it got to the point, explained what you needed to explain, and was very, very helpful. So in any case, I've been on the fence about this arch. It feels, you know, I want to let people do what they want to do to the extent that they can, and especially in a rear addition. It feels like the radius of this arch is fighting a little bit with the Palladian radius on the front. If there's any way to have some, I don't know, memory of that, because it's pretty special, the Palladian, you know, you're going to a lot of trouble to put it back. I don't know what I'm not going to suggest to you what to do. I'm just saying that there is a pre-existing sort of precedent for an arch on this building, and it's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't lead with that because I could see that you all might think that it's a bit of a stretch to go from an archtop window that wasn't there that we're showing to a much larger radius window, but we also thought that it wasn't without precedent.
They don't exactly talk to each other. They're sort of in the same universe, but it's almost like they're fighting each other. But maybe that's okay. I'm interested to hear what the other commissioners have to say about that.
Well, I think that kind of a gable form on the back is certainly lends itself to a Palladian solution. I'm also curious about how we feel it relates to the pointed kind of Gothic-y windows around the side, but the existing home has some competing windows to play with. It seems like an arch Palladian would be a way to get the bigger volume of glass that you're looking for without the wedding cake kind of postmodern solution that I think you correctly rejected earlier.
Yeah, I would have to say that this has been an interesting challenge for us because when a house does have something, a style that seems really consistent, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. And I felt like the Palladian window and the kind of single, really large double hungs, and then the I think Gothic-y is the right word. It is already a bit of a mix. So, I mean, I think for us, and I think for Ben and Royce, I think as long as the solution allows in the morning light, the eastern light above the line of the top plate of the wall. I mean, I think it's been studied, but we felt this was the best solution.
I do want to state for the record that I don't object to the amount of glazing on the rear addition. I think it has a nice kind of greenhousey kind of open feel to it that sets itself off from the solidity of the main house in not an objectionable way at all, in a nice way, I think.
I want to say that I agree with that. It's not for me, it wasn't the glazing, and it might not even be the arch. I wanted to hear what you had to say about it. It's just that there's two different radius. They feel at odds with each other somehow.
Yeah, I think
It's
we're
so
definitely
flat.
I think we're definitely being presented, a new shape of an arch, a new arch shape. And then with those vertical battens there, but then that's definitely a new element as well. And so, and then even the awning kind of contributes to that verticality as well, just with those lines there.
I mean, it does seem like what I'm hearing from the commissioners is while the general idea of it is fine, they would like the applicant to at least consider some design modifications. And I don't know from a timing perspective if that could be done administratively with review by maybe just a couple commissioners that are interested in it. I don't know how people feel about that, so that the applicant wouldn't have to come back again for another hearing. I mean, if the applicant's willing to do that, but I guess first I'll ask the commissioners if they think that's an acceptable way to proceed.
I find that acceptable, yes.
Okay. Would the applicant be willing to, I mean, again, you wouldn't have to come back and do another hearing, but you could submit some design modifications, and then a couple of the commissioners could look at it and advise whether that was more satisfactory. At least it seems like worth an effort if you're willing to do that.
Yeah, this is Ben Kurtz. Yeah, we very much value all of your input and would be willing to do that.
The only thing that I would ask, just so that we have, and I think it's pretty clear, but just for the record, that we have kind of marching orders in terms of what everyone agrees is what needs to be looked at.
I mean, it's definitely the design of the glazing in the arch. I don't know if I'm not quite sure there was 100% consensus on exactly what to change.
And I think the configuration of the arch and the material in the gable end, at the upper gable end.
But just to be clear, not a reduction in or a significant reduction in any case in the amount of glazing, right? That's not an issue. It's not an issue for me. Okay.
I mean, as much as it's not a perfect guidance, I mean, what I did hear from at least 3 commissioners was a better relationship to the rest of the house, which is it's not precise guidance. And I think, it's up to you to present a design you feel good about.
Can anyone read Stuart's notes? I think they're coming in mirror image.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the mirror image. I mean, I guess the other thing I would say is there'd be an opportunity for Stuart's comments to be forwarded if we do this.
Yeah. So Stuart can hear us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But Stuart, can you use the chat?
And can you confirm the part of the addition on the south, then that's gonna have all screening, not glass.
Right, it's a screen porch.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give Stuart a second before we do a motion.
When Stuart's done writing, I'm thinking maybe we ask him, to give him a yes or no question. Does he object to the direction we're heading, where there would be the review of those two components?
Administrative review.
It's coming through as a
Right.
mirror image, Stuart, I think. Or else it's in a different language. Why don't we, there's still going to be an opportunity to get Stuart's input if we proceed this way. So why don't we try to do that? It's frustrating. Beth, do you want to try to make a motion?
Okay, so then would I make the motion for the COA or would I, and then just
Yeah, so it would be
pending-
it would be for approval, but subject to administrative approval with consultation with commissioners as to the glazing on the rear.
Okay,
Great.
okay, sure, I'll give it a go. Okay, for the property at 1115 Hinman Avenue in the Lakeshore Historic District, case number 21 Pres 0167. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing aluminum siding with fiber cement siding, replace deteriorated windows in kind, demolish a non-original addition at the rear volume of the residence and construct a single-story addition, covered screen porch, and uncovered deck at the rear volume of the residence. The applicable standards are demolition 1 through 5, alteration 1 through 10, and construction 1 through 4, 7 through 8, and 10, 15. And this would be pending an administrative review and consultation with several of the commissioners regarding the new east gables fenestration and perhaps that siding in or the panels around the glazing in the upper part of that gable. Is
Great.
there additional items I needed to note?
I think that was great.
All right.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Morris. All right, a roll call vote. Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan.
Aye.
I can't read what Stuart's voting, so Commissioner Driller,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
and Stuart wants to vote no. Okay, Stuart wants to vote no. And I'm an aye. And then Stuart, it's not going to be too late to get your comments in. How would you like to communicate them so that, I mean, it's not too late for issues to be addressed. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So that really concludes our hearings for the night. I guess I'd ask that everyone but administrative, everyone but commissioners, please sign off. We're just going to go through minutes and other administrative matters. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I know there were some people interested in the design guidelines who are welcome to stay on.
Okay, yeah, the only one other than the design guidelines are meeting minutes
I have no sound.
for November 9th.
Did you receive any comments on the minutes or?
I didn't receive any comments.
Okay, all right.
Do
Would
you want me to
someone,
make a motion?
please,
I move to approve the meeting minutes of the November 9th, 2021 meeting.
second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call vote for everyone who was there. Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Absent, abstaining.
Commissioner Bodan.
Aye.
I don't know that I can see Stuart. Commissioner Dreller,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Aye.
No, I'm an aye.
Okay, and for design guidelines, I'll let Carlos speak to that. Is your audio working, Carlos?
Yeah, I just turn around. Can you, everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Before we jump into the
evening.
design guidelines, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I think Stuart is so critical to this conversation that I don't know if we should defer this to another time when he can fully participate.
I think the update, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, but this is going to, because Stuart is on the subcommittee for the design guidelines.
Okay.
So I
Right.
think this is somewhat revisiting kind of what's already been discussed by that subcommittee and just letting you know of their progress.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
So yeah, we send this similar email to the group of the two commissioners in this case, Jensen and Stewart, and former commissioners, Julie Hacker and Elliot Dudnick and Chad Wise, to prepare the 2019 design guidelines. And at that meeting, their concern was that was raised at the first initial meeting with Stewart and Jamie, that Stewart had asked, let's compare what you plan to do with the 2019. And at that point, I searched for the document online and I realized that it was not on the page, so that we decided to wait until we had the opportunity to figure out what happened to it. I had talked to Kate, and there was a realignment of the website or redoing of the website at some point while I was away, where that particular page with the design guidelines was no longer on the same location. So the question was whether or not those guidelines were similar, or anything that can be done, not to replicate, but to work from there. So we decided to wait and have a meeting with the actual authors of the 2019, which we did on November 19. At that point, we realized that some of the content that was there was not necessarily lost. It was distributed in the web page in different locations with different links. And in fact, the document is under the section that deals directly with the Preservation Commission under additional resources and has the title Procedural and Design Guidelines. So what we discuss is, how we're going to integrate, if possible, that document with the new Preservation Design Guidelines. So we decided that we will wait and have the opportunity to review both. And then the information that is available online is sort of not the same, but it's still there in different format. Part of the discussion has to do with, not to duplicate the guidelines. And I don't think that's the intent. Not to make it prescriptive is not also the intent. So we will actually develop the guidelines so that we'll be more local, because in the 2019 document, it is mostly a procedural guideline. And then they list several links to the National Park Service and other resources, but they don't necessarily discuss, what the standards for review for alteration, construction, relocation, and demolition could be done. Because if you look at the standards, are not necessarily things that the things that you do, but not necessarily how you do. The next thing I'd like to speak is about the if you look at the guidelines that were developed in 2019, like I said earlier, they're more procedural than actual information on how to consider, for instance, an alteration. The standard says, whenever possible, for instance, repair rather than replace. When replacement is necessary, replacement in kind. But they don't go into, what happens if you have a window that is all wood or steel window, what you should do. And that's what the design guidance will help people to understand, that you should just consider restoration but before replacement. And if you had to replace it, you had to replace it in kind. Something that we encounter every single meeting, it appears that there's always somebody who wants to replace windows. Then Jamie also had our initial meeting, some comments about the original or the initial outline, where she suggested to remove a whole section that has to do with maintenance. She felt that that would be very lengthy and that was not necessarily very helpful to have it on the design guidelines themselves. So you received that document with the red letters and or font that means that is either deleted, and the one that is underlined is the new text, so that you will see the differences. So you receive a marked copy and a clean copy of the same outline. And the last document that I included was the actual text that was online in 2019 as of November of that year, when the commissioners back then completed their work, and myself, I was able to put it online. So the next steps, we intend actually to repost this whole document as one link that will have all the text included, all the links that are part of it, while we're working with the new preservation design guidelines. So that will be the next step. And then further that, we will continue doing the writing. And the idea is that Stuart and Jamie will give us feedback and comments as we develop the guidelines. And I believe Julie Hacker is also interested in collaborating with us, so that she will be more than welcome to do the same. And then we will report back to the commission as we develop the guidelines for your own comments as well. So that's my report.
Carlos,
about the
can I make a comment?
Yes. Oh, hi, Jack.
Hi, everybody. Just one thing that you didn't mention, that we were as concerned about the content of that material as we were about its presentation on the website. And what we found disturbing was, as you found, that you didn't find it, number one. And we wanted to make sure that what was there was easily understood and easily followed by anyone going to the website. So a lot of our work toward the end of our writing and composing and organizing was about how to get it presented on the website that made it very clear to anyone going there could follow and understand and locate things that they were interested in. And so I think that continues to right now. I think that it's one thing to get all the material together and make sure it's all correct, but it's also very important that it be easily accessible on the website.
We will do our best to make that happen, because it's going to be just one link that will open the whole document. So it's not something that they need to look for it. We just need to determine whether it's going to be under historic preservation, the page that deals with that, or under the Preservation Commission itself. There are two pages that are available online, and one has to do with the primary function is to have the agendas, the minutes, the video, and there are other links associated with that in regard to additional resources. That's where currently is what we call the procedural and design guidelines, which happen to be the 2019 guidelines, with some of the links that are available directly through that link. There are other links within that.
And one other small point I want to make is that these links were also very critical, and we wanted to make sure they were links to things that weren't going to disappear. So, I mean, it's pretty maddening when you go to links that you can't find anymore. So anything that's linked ought to be concrete and not lost.
That's
to
why
time.
that's why I included the actual document, which I was able to go back through technology to get to a particular date with that text and links were part of the website. So that's why I copy and pasted into the document so you can see those links still work.
Great, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Unless you have any other questions, that would be the end of my report.
Great, thanks, Carlos. The only other item is approval of meeting dates for 2022. The only change you'll see here, two changes, regular scheduled on the second Tuesday of the month. Didn't see any conflicts. There's a conflict in December, similar to the conflict we had this year. And then we're proposing a recess in August, so no meeting, which is what the commission used to do.
Great. Do we need to take any steps to approve it or?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, we should make a motion just to approve the meeting dates as presented if nobody has any issue with it. And then I can update these dates on the website and the corresponding submission deadlines.
Okay. Would someone just like to make a motion to approve these dates?
I can do it. Do I have to, Kay, do I have to read out all of the dates?
No, no, you don't. You can just say that you're making a motion to approve the 2022 meeting dates as presented or something similar.
Okay. I would like to move to accept or to approve the 2022 meeting dates, Preservation Commission meeting dates, as presented in the memorandum dated December 7th, 2021 in tonight's agenda.
Second? Thank you.
Second.
I guess we need to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan,
Aye.
Commissioner Dreller,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So thank you.
And I just have a few items of discussion. One will be that we'll elect new officers in January. So if you would like to nominate someone or nominate yourself, just send me an email separately. And then if you are nominated, then I'll follow up with that person and ask if you accept. So you have to accept the nomination to have it move forward. But we'll do that in January. A few more items just as a kind of for your information. The city disbanded its zoning board of appeals and plan commission, and now we have a joint body called the Land Use Commission. So we took the Plan Commission, took the Zoning Board of Appeals, and merged it into the Land Use Commission. That's going to start, I believe, in January of 2022. And then the only other item is that the city received funding from the City Council for $500,000 towards a new comprehensive plan. We'll be moving that process forward in the next year, likely the next 2 years. But there will be a substantial component on preservation, and the commission will be involved. There'll be meetings with the consultant group and the commission to get their feedback on that respective chapter. But it's really a pretty significant opportunity for you to be involved with. This is a document that it probably has anywhere from a 15 to 20 year planning outlook. So it'll really impact preservation decisions long into the future and just general planning and land use decisions.
Has the consultant been chosen yet?
So we haven't sent the RFP yet or really formalized that yet, but
Okay.
we do have the funding in place, which is really excellent. And then we'll send the RFP. I don't know if we'll send it to some consultants individually as well. We'll probably do that. But then based on the feedbacks, I'm sure there'll be many rounds of interviews and so forth before.
That's a public process, choosing the consultant?
It will be a public process, and it'll be city council that'll determine that, who wins the contract award for it. And then,
So the
like I said,
Preservation Commission, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say it's likely, after that consultant is selected, it's probably a 2-year process would be my best guess.
I just wondered if the Preservation Commission was going to have to provide some kind of like recommendation or something on the consultant. Do we
I
not?
think you'd be more than welcome to provide some input on, and review the proposals and look at it. When we get to that point, you receive the proposals. I could send them to you most likely.
Kate, what is the project called again? What kind of a plan?
It's the comprehensive plan. Sometimes it's called the general plan. I think some states call it the master plan, but it's really just the guiding policy document. It's the principal policy document for all kind of land use decisions at a municipal level. And it's really, I believe, the only state mandated plan document that a municipality has to have.
When was
And
the last one issued?
the last one was, I think, done in 2000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
okay.
it's getting 20 years out of one is a pretty good stretch at this point. So it's definitely time.
Yeah, you can look at the website also. Carl Klein just sent me a link about it. It's under comprehensive plan under government. You can see it. I'll send you the link, or you can see the link in the chat as well. That's the 2000 comprehensive plan. There's a whole section dedicated to historic preservation as well. At the time, the commission submitted the recommendations to the body that was in charge of the plan at the time. So like Kate said, it's basically an opportunity for the commission to highlight the path for the city council as far as what preservation, would be in the next 20 years.
And some of this feeds back into why I wanted to and why we created that subcommittee on just looking at kind of long-term planning for preservation, is to try to get ahead of that. At the time, I couldn't really mention it because the funding hadn't been allocated, but now that it has, I think it's nice that we're thinking about some of these issues and we can try to get ahead of it and really make an impact on the planning document.
I think part of the information that would be clear is sustainability is becoming more and more significant planning issue. And I think that we have some strides doing that with the commission, the solar panel guidelines, and there might be other materials that we're considering as more sustainable. But I think that would be a lot of information about sustainability, and that will impact preservation as well.
And that's all I have, I promise. So unless someone has any other items to discuss, make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A second.
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, see you in January. Thanks, guys.